get started. As this gathering happily symbolizes, people are beginning, to some meaningful extent, happily, to pay attention to how completely dysfunctional the bail system in America is, almost everywhere, and are finally beginning to face and recognize the consequences of our unwillingness to pay attention to the massive dysfunction of the pretrial justice system in America. The consequences in terms of community safety, financial waste, court inefficiency, and unfairness. In 2012, the reality is, in my view, almost everywhere, that pretrial decision-making by judges is not rational, it doesn't serve the interest of community safety, and is fundamentally unfair. Yet, by and large, as a nation and as judges, we simply proceed on with things as they are. We'll return to this in a minute, but this morning, nobody gasped, nobody looked to the right and the left as this public defender woman described going into a courtroom with a client who had no prior criminal history, who was charged with a misdemeanor offense of assaulting a family member and breaking up some property. And the judge said $2,500 per count. None of you gasped at that. That's what happens in America. That's just, on every level, I submit to you, wrong, irrational, and almost crazy. And yet it happens in every courtroom, almost, all around this country. What do we get from giving her a $5,000 bond? What have we accomplished with that woman having a $5,000 bond? Are we safer from her? That we probably are, because she'll never get out, probably. We'll return to that. So yesterday, just to continue with the unsmiley face part of this for another moment. So yesterday, Charisse and Tara from Kentucky and this panel talked to us about all the places that significant rethinking is underway and meaningful reform measures are taking root. And it was inspiring. But we allotted just the right amount of time for it, because if they had been given another 20 minutes, they'd have run out of places to talk about, because there aren't really that many more. And I will say to you, you know, I'm a judge now, about 4 months a year, and I spend some of my time, thanks to the Pretrial Justice Institute, working on pretrial justice issues. And I frankly, at times like coming to a conference like this, I found, sorry to admit, that I find it from time to time sort of surrealistic to work in a field where nationally we have known what's wrong for quite some time, and we know how to fix it and have known for quite some time. And yet the central irrational dynamics of pretrial decision-making, like a virus that's impervious to antibiotics, just continues. So, why is that? So depending on how nuanced a conversation you want to have, there are perhaps, you know, a half dozen factors that contribute to dysfunction in their cumulative effect. But I submit to you that there is decidedly one villain of the piece, and that villain is money. And money is and always will be the durable enemy of pretrial justice reform. Until we can eliminate money entirely from pretrial justice decision-making, I submit to you, and I don't think I'm overstating this, that all of our efforts at reform are going to be finite, limited, and will never fully succeed in changing the operative face of pretrial injustice in America. Yesterday we spent some of our time debating with Mr. Bartlett the claims and counterclaims regarding the business people that we have allowed into the halls of justice to make money. They're not really the problem, in my view. Bondsmen aren't the problem. Money is the problem. And when we eliminate money, bondsmen and their efforts to import profit-taking into justice policy will simply fade away inexorably. So, although tempted to say a little more about commercial bail bonding, I'm going to not. So, I'll return in a moment to what I believe is sort of the central example of our irrational thinking and of judges' irrational actions on the bench, which is using money bond for safety, which absolutely does not withstand scrutiny and thought. I'll return to that in a moment, because it's, in my view, of central importance. Let me first move to sketch for you when I say we've known how broken everything is for some time and we've known how to fix it. I, for one, believe that there's little debate about the essential ingredients in a high-functioning pretrial justice system. And in my view, there are at least 5 things. We can have 7 or 8, but we'll just talk about 5 that are essential. In any high-functioning pretrial justice system, we need a statutory provision that forbids the use of money for safety. That has been on the books in every federal courtroom in the District of Columbia for 40 years. That's been the law. We need a viable preventive detention system, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, that all system players buy into. Thirdly, we need a statutory provision that forbids monetary conditions of release that result in preventive detention of the person, which means we need a law that says you have a right to a bond you can meet. Fourth, we need a viable pretrial service program to provide necessary information to judges, to make recommendations based on risk, and that offers supervision alternatives to the court. 5, and lastly, we need appointed counsel present at bail setting. Now,